Okay, so let's continue here. That Texas sun get the best of you, and then when we get to dusk, y'all know how the mosquitoes be getting out, and that'd ruin your evening. So we had to carry it on to the next day and do it inside. So we're here in my office, but we left off on the message yesterday, and I want to pick up with standards because, again, I'm not trying to be the savior, but I do want to be a part of the solution. And I know that there's some good people from my city. And even though I may have the opportunity to speak to student bodies and from small businesses to encourage folk to, be their best self, shameless plug, because I'm trying to represent my city well myself. I know that there's a lot more people out here that can join me in doing, making a good example. So let's talk about the standards that were set from when we were kids and how um, our parents, they did the best they could, I guess, but not very many of our parents gave us necessarily the blueprint to kind of execute the plans that they had for us or put us on the right path of success. Case in point, this is embarrassing, but I reiterate the point that I want to be part of the solution. I share with you my experience moving to stay with my mom. I was 10, 11 years old, from staying with my grandparents. And it was summertime before I was getting ready to start the school. And these little boys ran me in the house. Derek and Tony, I'll never forget them boys. And my mom was in the house watching her stories. And, One Life to Live come on at 1 o'clock. I think Erica Kane come on sometime after that, General Hospital or whatever. And sometime during the commercial break, she got up, looked out the window, seeing Derek and Antonio still waiting on me outside, slapped me upside my head so hard that it made my ear ring, and said the only bitch in the house is gonna be me. And she proceeded to walk me outside and forced me to fight them boys while she stood there on the porch. Now, I won't even say I gave him these hands because that sounds too technical, like I had some skills. I did not. Again, I'm a little chubby grandbaby, come from little country Cleveland, Texas. But I go out there and I just start throwing, swinging my arms and whatnot. And obviously, God had his hand on me since I was a little kid. So, I did whatever I had to do to run them off. My mom brings me back in the house. She patching up my knuckles. I guess I caught one of them in the mouth or whatever, in the tooth. That tooth, broke the skin on my hands. Put a little peroxide on it, and then, you know, put the ice and towel on my lip or whatever, and say, "You're gonna be a man." Okay, the standard is set, but what does that mean? What does that look like? So, just from the experience, and that's one of the things my mom loved to say, is experience is the best teacher. So my experience told me that I guess a man doesn't run away from a fight. Well, I wasn't a man in every situation in my younger years because I did run away from a fight or two. Uh, a man stands up for himself. Well, I feel like I did that more times than not. Uh, a man takes care of himself without looking for help. Okay. So you take the standard that your parent or that person that's most influential to you take that and you own it, and then you try to make sense of it, but it's not in black and white. So I share that story with you all because we get caught up in the rappers, when we were young, and I was a Scarface fan, and then I heard Jay-Z and UGK, rest in peace to Pimp C. Just I can go down the list, but those are my favorites. But they kind of set standards in the absence of what my parents shared. This is what you do. This is how you handle the situation. And you have your wins and losses. Now, I may have won more than I lost, but in the losses, I learned I could take a punch. In the wins, I felt bad because I put a man on his back. So we are at home and have what our parents expect of us, but they don't really explain it. And then you go out into your world, and then, which is your neighborhood, and then you see the habits of other people around you and whatever those habits were. Now, remember, we grew up in the 90s, so gang violence was at an all-time high. And I believe that 95 they did a status report, and Baton Rouge was number one, somewhere Chicago number two, Fort Worth had made it to number three. Not like that's an accomplishment, but we had ranked at number three, and then I think Little Rock, Arkansas, and then finally Compton. That's where the most gang violence was taking place and the most murders of young black men. Now, mind you, and I'm getting a little bit off subject because in the opening and then in the message, I kind of made the focus based on what my brother Charleston White has talked about, broke, useless males, speaking strictly of males. Well, the fall of a race or the fall of a culture starts with the man, but you can see the evidence by the women. So if they're calling us broke, useless males, I think once understood, they don't have to be explained, as they say, because those women are living with us, laying down with us, starting families with us, and aren't doing much themselves. So it's important that we realize that we have to create a blueprint. And we old folks now, getting to be. We're just real grown. We don't necessarily call us old, but we're real grown folks now. And the point in that, me saying that is, it's not too late for those parents who have children. Keep going. I know am I getting close to my 7 minutes? Surpassing it. Well, I'm gonna finish this up. Thank you. It was not too late if you're a parent of a 19, 20, 21-year-old to still have an influence or impact on their decision making. You may not be able to tell them what to do because they grown, but you always will be mom or dad, so they're gonna listen. They might not follow through exactly because they think they're grown, but to have some wisdom to impart on them, that's a value. And then for those of you who are like me, didn't start having children until I was in my 30s, then have something in mind that you want to set for your children, whereas that they know more than just what not to do. Because if anybody had a mom like me, I can do anything I wanted to do, except for these few things you can't. And when you're a kid, you're running around, you be home before the porch light come on. Then you get into your teenage years, and we driving, so we all over Fort Worth. But I got to be home by that curfew. But I can be anywhere in Fort Worth. So, yes, just like she said, experience is the best teacher. But also, parents can be good teachers too. Aunts and uncles can be good teachers too. It's not necessary that we always make the mistake and have to learn from the mistake. some of us can learn from other people's mistakes. We can stop there. Okay, so we'll continue on, and we left off with standards. Now let's go to the expectations, because those expectations are the ones that we learn once we leave out our domicile. You know what I'm saying? We leave out our parents' house and then go off into the world. That means our neighborhood, our apartment complex, uh, roach infested Sandy Oaks is where I had my start. You know, from some of you all actually remember that. But then, um, and then I shared with you last that, you know, gang violence was at its all time high. So you were either going to be a part of a gang, or you was going to play ball of some sort. And when I was coming up, and y'all don't hold this against me, I can't remember Anton's last name. I wanted to say Davis, but I could be wrong. But he was an upperclassman. Shout out to my Eastern Hill alums. Not just the class of '96, those underclassmen that I had a relationship with, and some of those upperclassmen that taught me a little bit. And then thank y'all for not jumping on me and shoving me in the locker. But in all seriousness, you either gonna play ball. So Anton, he was a track star. He was a football star. I think Anton, he passed away years ago. I think we were young actually when he passed away. Juan, he hooped. I think he had an opportunity. He came from good parents. He went on and had an opportunity to play ball at TCU. Norris, I'm not sure what Norris went off to school to do, but I know that I think I remember him being an artist of some sort and making music. Shout out to those brothers. My class, Damian Badger. Damian was the running back. So from Eastern Hills, and just a side note, for those people who didn't go to Eastern Hills and gave us the nickname Edom Hills, I just wanted to be on the record that for 4 years I was there, I fasted. But back to the point. The expectation was that you was going to be a superstar athlete. Like all the great athletes came from Dunbar, you know, and then we had our little few. So you expected to have the height of your life, it seemed like, in your teens, because if we made it to 25, that was a goal. That we were almost old men per se. Now, I wasn't nearly as deep in the game or so dedicated to ball. My attitude was terrible. Some of you all remember that I seemed like I had a permanent scowl on my face from back in my handy days because, like I shared with you, Derek Antonio ran me in the house. I had to figure out what a man was going to be. And to me, being a man was putting on this facade where people didn't mess with you. Well, that's only a bit of the personality that I developed. And while I was trying to focus on that, no social skills, no ability to interact, no communication skills. So going off to school, I learned a little bit. Remembering that seed that I shared that Mr. Calhoun planted in me from the opening. And when I shared that, I went off and got my bachelor's degree, my master's degree. Shout out to Dr. Blake. Shout out to Dr. Middleton, Miss Holland. My bachelor's would not have happened without those instructors helping push me through. Because again, I didn't have the necessary skills. Now I was smart, but I didn't have the work ethic. I didn't have the proper planning and the consistency necessary to see a 4-year degree through. So I had my highs and lows, and it was those teachers that kept pushing me and kept checking in on me even when I didn't have that class. Special shot to Dion. You know who you are, Mrs. Dansby Clark. That master's degree doesn't happen without you. Thank you so much, because you saw something in me and I was on my way somewhere and you saw fit to help me get there. We have to understand, again, like I mentioned in the message, you don't always know where the message is going to come from, but did you get the message? So with all these expectations that we had growing up and what we thought we were supposed to do and what others was doing that we want to emulate, we had no specific plan for ourselves. That has to change because these kids are all over the place. And I'm seeing it from 16 years in the schoolhouse, trying to put my cape on every day and go in there and save the day. Now, I made my relationship with my kids, and my kids love me. Adults, not so much. But the fact of the matter is that I imparted my wisdom, my embarrassing situations with my kids, and now 16 years later from those first groups that I got kids, it's now 26, 27, still come by the house and holler at me, share with me what's going on with their families, drink a beer, watch the football, basketball game or whatnot, and just want to kick it with old Unc. Simply because I built relationships with them that were long lasting because it wasn't about do as I say. I mean, do as I say, but not as I do. I'm setting the mold. I'm setting the model for you. You know, you don't have to be exactly like Mr. Conaway, but the fact is you got somebody, you don't have an excuse. Now, graduating up until, when I say graduating up until, I mean moving on to older adulthood. You know, I'm in my 30s now, you know, still with the same habits as a young man, chasing women or being involved with women or whatever. You start a family. And now you having a family out of wedlock. And then you want to try to create a home. Well, God blessed me to be able to have my money in order to have me a home built, a house built. Now I got to find me a woman that's wife material to turn that house into a home. And I'm working and making money, and I buy a car and dresses and purse or shoes or whatever. But do you really know how to be a husband? No. So the marriage fails. And just like the word says, people perish for lack of knowledge. Didn't know how to conduct myself as a husband, but I just did what I thought I was supposed to do. There's a breakdown there because you people expect you to do certain things that we just didn't know how to do. We have to be able to implement some key strategies for these young adults. And like I said, it's not too late for you. Just like I shared yesterday in the video, you don't have to, if you haven't gotten up yourself and you waiting on that luxurious life to show up at your doorstep, it's not coming. But if you get out and get up and get out and get something, like old Outkast song, then you put yourself in position to have people, God put people on your pathway to help you get where you're trying to go. So then you are able to start setting your own expectations. How do you want your life to be outside of just making a little money? We have to remember that having money in our pocket doesn't equate to strong character and integrity. We can stop there.